Okay, I know, I should be putting out the Devil Fruit Theory videos first, but I really wanted to get this one out there. I have a handful of like filler One Piece theories that are just so cool, and I want them to at least get addressed, but who knows with how much time is left in One Piece, if they will even be able to get to it. Anyways, the topic I want to talk about is the double layered eyes. The most notable person to have it, and arguably one of the coolest characters, is Mihawk. I made a video about Zoro in the past, and it touched on monsters, a canon story about Ryuma, and there was an interesting detail that could be hidden info about Mihawk's origin in there. So if you're a Mihawk fan, I would suggest checking that out. But to quickly list out the characters who clearly exhibit the double layered eyes, it would be Mihawk, Eam, and Cavendish. I would really like to know more about Mihawk and Eam, but unfortunately we gotta get our info from Cavendish first, since we saw him the most. Interestingly, Cavendish shares a similar attire to Mihawk, it seems, like the same genre of attire. And then it's notable that a lot of the top swordsmen who aren't from Wano have this European styled attire. Even Eam kind of looks like he's wearing this caped jacket type of thing, but that's reaching since it's a shadow. So moving on. The interesting thing about Cavendish is that normally his eyes look like this, but when his alter ego Hakuba appears, his eyes turn into this. Then, when he fights for control and has both personalities present, his eyes look like this. The double layered eyes that we see in Mihawk and Eam. This feels like a huge clue as to what these eyes really mean. I think these eyes signify a type of possession, like the body is a vessel that is holding at the minimum two spirits. Whose spirit Hakuba is to Cavendish, I'm not sure, but it could be a generational possession, meaning Hakuba was an ancestor to Cavendish. Is this the same for Mihawk? For Cavendish, it seems like Hakuba comes out when Cavendish is sleeping. I don't think we've seen Mihawk sleeping, but I got 2, maybe 3 clues telling me that Mihawk is just like Cavendish. The first one is that there was this panel from the manga that was omitted from the anime that is kind of wild. When Mihawk was first introduced by the Baratie crew, they mistook him for Red Eye, not Hawkeye. The reason they thought this was that his eyes were red because he drank so much wine, his eyes turned red. Then the fool caught fire and exploded. What? What in the world? This sounds like a huge clue to something else that I'll bring up in a different video. But he got drunk and exploded? That's our only clue to what happens when Mihawk gets incapacitated in some form. Maybe Mihawk is constantly fighting this alternate ego that has control of the 4th Haki I talked about before and spontaneously combusts as if he has a devil fruit? The Mihawk we know most definitely cannot spontaneously combust. But also, can that be animated? I feel like that'd be hilarious to watch. Okay, and the second clue that's kind of funny is that Mihawk has 2 kinds of laughs. I don't think any character given a distinct laugh has had 2 laughs. This is a fact I found on the wiki page, but I couldn't track down the coo 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 laugh that was noted. So this one is a little bit more flimsy. Another detail is found in chapter 49. When proposing possible reasons as for why Mihawk would wreck Don Krieg's entire armada, Zeph says this: maybe you interrupted his nap. That can be passed off as no big deal, but if Mihawk was sleeping and his sleeping alternate ego is the merciless monster, then that could explain Mihawk's random attack. The other detail I think that should be considered is that Mihawk is the strongest swordsman. How did he get that strong? Who trained him to get to the level he is? And we don't really know of him fighting other strong characters like Kaido or Big Mom, just Shanks. But if you think of Mihawk's character like a reincarnation character from current trendy mangas, then it could make sense that Mihawk's alter ego trained Mihawk, and maybe he was incredibly strong in a past life, and now given a second life gave Mihawk plenty shortcuts to become the strongest swordsman in the world. The other idea that could make sense is that it could be a power like that from Katekyo Hitman or One for All, where it's a cumulative experience from past lives. There is this concept in One Piece where, whether it's the will of D or Odin physically passing his will on, of intergenerational inheritance of some kind of knowledge or directive. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that the strongest swordsman is someone who inherited a will of some sort and is in full control of it, unlike Cavendish. Given the similar swordsman theme and attire, I wonder what would happen if Hakuba met Mihawk. Would he recognize him from their past lives or something? I have more to say on this. I might just throw this out there, but Mihawk spontaneously combusting and him having a past life made me think the sun god or like Lunarian. Maybe the sun god who is pictured with a sword and spear split his soul and half is in Mihawk and the other part is in someone else who is beast with a spear. That's a shot in the dark, but going back to the main topic now. The last person to talk about with these eyes would be Eam. Could Eam be shouldering a past life that is guiding them to make certain decisions? Is that why the Gorosei is so reverent to Eam, because they either are the original person or the reincarnation of the person who held all the power? Or what if Eam holds some sort of possession fruit and is the one taking control of various people acting as surrogates for Eam, while Eam is stuck in the Holy Land? Sure, maybe, but we'd need some more examples of possessions in One Piece to understand the eye thing more. Are there other people with these eyes? And at first I was like, no, but I felt like there was, and I was jolted at the latest chapter because I was reminded that Sulong Minks have double-layered eyes too. And their Sulong form is pretty similar to Hakuba and Mihawk in that they become overwhelmingly powerful. Without proper restraint, they will go into savage mode like Hakuba, and they also kind of spontaneously combust with lightning rather than flame. On top of that, Jinbei said that when the Minks stare into the full moon, they call forth the wild memories that lurk deep within their subconscious. That sounds a lot like my theory of either reincarnation or possession from an ancestor type of situation. All Minks are capable of doing this, which is something that really sets them apart and again puts them near the center of another theory genre of mine. This ability to access these memories might be the reason why all Minks are able to use Electro, and explains why they would be naturals with the fourth Haki besides them being closer to nature and having animal instincts. But okay, now I'm feeling kind of confident about this double-layered eye theory being a legitimate signal towards some sort of possession that Oda is hinting at. Interestingly enough, there's one more person I want to bring into the mix here, and it seems odd, but it makes a lot of sense. That person is Blackbeard. There's a running theory and shroud of mystery around this guy about who he is, where he comes from, is he even human, and accumulated to this theory that Blackbeard has 3 personalities. He has 3 guns and 3 skulls on his flags, but the main crux of this theory is that Blackbeard for apparently his entire life has not slept. Then there was this iconic scene in Blackbeard's debut to the Straw Hat crew, where he tells Nami that Luffy won the fight against Bellamy, and that people's dreams never end. Afterwards, when Nami wants to ask that guy questions about Skypiea, Luffy and Zoro both responded saying it wasn't just one guy, meaning that Blackbeard is multiple people? Side note, this is probably related to Luffy and Zoro's observation haki. And so people piece together it may be possible that instead of sleeping, another alter ego or personality has taken over, so that he never sleeps. I hinted that his lack of sleep tied to my haki strengthening theory meant that Blackbeard's haki power is probably top tier. I'm sure we've all thought at one point that if we didn't need to sleep, we'd get so much more done. At least I've thought that, which is definitely not healthy. Get good sleep, guys. It's important for long-term health. But so to tie Blackbeard to this theory, I think there's 2 ways it could maybe go. One way is that unlike Cavendish and Mihawk, it may be possible that instead of fighting with his alter ego like Cavendish or coming to an agreement like Mihawk, Blackbeard divides up his body to his alter ego, which gets passed back and forth instead of him sleeping. But if we take the incapacitation part into consideration, then maybe Blackbeard is afraid to sleep, so he forces himself to stay awake to never give control to his alter ego. I also want to note that Blackbeard doesn't have the double-layered eyes, but it may be because unlike the others, he isn't exactly sharing his body. I think this might be crazy because of a lot of reasons. If you think of it like that, then what would happen if someone were to conquer a haki drop Blackbeard? Would he not fall and instead the alter ego would take over? But the main thing I think this is crazy for, and I think this might be relevant to all the people mentioned above, what would happen if you use Big Mom's soul fruit to take their soul? Would these people have multiple souls inside them? But I think an even more relevant example, and this may explain Blackbeard's recent actions, Gecko Moriah's shadow fruit. Why did Blackbeard lure Gecko Moriah to Pirate Island and want Gecko to join his crew despite just admitting to killing his crewmate Absalom and stealing his clear fruit? That doesn't seem to be a great way to convince someone to join. But in any case, Moriah's fruit sounds like it would synergize really well with Blackbeard's fruit. Shadows and darkness, there's definitely combo magic there. But the reason that Blackbeard could be seeking Gecko Moriah's compliance is because of his possession situation. It may be that Gecko could possibly cut a shadow off of Blackbeard, and that shadow would be inserted into a competent vessel as one of the alternate egos. On top of that, we know that Gecko has the corpses of some of the Rock's pirates, so that theory that Zebek is inside Blackbeard might not be too far off, and Zebek is trying to revive his old crew. All of this could explain how Blackbeard has this unheard of knowledge of how to steal devil fruits from Whitebeard and Absalom. Also the knowledge to have multiple devil fruits. Maybe it comes from one of those reincarnated individuals and they're seeking Moriah's power to give them more autonomy with their own bodies. There's also a few others I've noted with these eyes. Caribou being a main person who seems more important in a weird way since he keeps showing up. A really interesting one is Zunisha. Zunisha was shown to have the double-layered eye as well, and the elephant seemed to be possessed by something. It carries the punishment from some unknown grievance, and this forces Zunisha to just continue walking. To me, Zunisha's existence is odd in that it has to be a one-of-a-kind creature. There can't possibly be herds of these massive elephants, and it's so strong and massive, and clearly has memories from a long time ago. In any case, the eyes feel important, and there definitely seems like there's a connection between sleeping or being incapacitated and having alternate egos. Like, I wonder what all of this means for Eam. To have the same eyes, also the only indication besides the shape of the character for Eam was the eyes. It has to be important. Oh wait, also they called Mihawk Red Eyes, but Eam's eyes are actually red, and when Mihawk's eyes turned red from drinking wine, they probably looked like Eam's, and then he spontaneously combusted. Okay. I'm sure I'll revisit this theory in the future. I'll get back on the Devil Fruit theory now. Oh wait, no, the Earthbender one first. Or Zoro. I know I call this theory a filler theory, but I have some really fun theories that are actual filler theories. I'll put those out soon too.